Well, hi everyone. Dave Lynch from Summerleas Church again, and I'd like to welcome you back to our next episode of Summerleas Sanity. As I've said many times before, and if you've seen our other episodes, this is just a little series we're putting together just to give you really short, super practical tips on how to look after your mental health during these crazy days of COVID-19. Now, as always, I have my good friend Maria Conway here to help me out. Those of you that know Maria will know that she's a long-time member of Summerleas Church, but she's also an accredited counsellor. She's worked as a chaplain before at Southern Christian College. She's currently the school counsellor at Farn School here in Hobart and also runs her own wonderful counselling practice in Kingston. Maria, great to have you back. And today you're going to talk to us a little bit about getting good mental health habits in place. So what have you got for us today?
Thanks again for having me, Dave. Some of what I'm going to talk about today may sound simplistic and stuff that we normally do all the time, but I can't stress enough that in this time that when we're self-isolated and we're sort of a bit out of routine, that it's helpful to go back to the basics. So I'm going to give you 5 tips today on what you can do to really help your mental health during this time. And like I said, they're really practical. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to eat really well. The tendency that we have at the moment is that we're sort of in this hibernation that's somewhere between just this alternate reality or parallel universe and a staycation, if you were. And so our tendency is to want to eat comfort food and just kind of go back to holiday mode where we don't put too much thought into what we're making to eat. And we just snack on things like potato chips and lollies. And that can really lead to just a decline in our mental health because what we put in our body really does affect our mind. So the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do is just maintain a really healthy diet during this time. So just take some thought to plan your meals and just include all the different food groups and make sure that you're getting enough fruit and veg and things like that. The second thing I'm going to focus on for mental health is going to be sleep. At the best of times, we are a culture that is sleep deprived and doesn't really get the sleep that we need. And with all of the different messages that are constantly coming through the media and talking about COVID-19 with our friends, we often go to sleep these days feeling really unsettled. So one of my first tips for getting good night's sleep is just put your media, all your social media, all your screens down at least an hour before bedtime. Spend some time just talking with the people that you care about in your household about other things, about relationships, about how they're going. Spend time doing a really quiet activity like reading or doing a puzzle. Have a nice warm bath or a hot shower. Don't engage in a big workout before bed. Keep everything calm and just engage in really nice wind activities. And then when you go to bed, make sure you're really comfortable. Make sure you're not too hot or too cold in bed. Smiling Mind, Headspace, and even the ABC all have access to stories that you can play before you go to bed, or a wind down meditation, or even just listening to nature or the ocean or something like that. You can even have Matthew McConaughey read you a story to bed on the Calm app. So there's lots of things you can do to just create the right environment for getting a good night's sleep. The third thing I'm going to mention is exercise. I know that we're limited as to what we can do. We can't go to the gym and we can't go to national parks, but we can take a walk around the neighborhood. We can access some of those really great online exercise classes, or we can sign up for TikTok and make a new dance. There's lots of ways that we can get exercise. We can run around our house. We can go on the trampoline or ride our bikes. Exercise is really important. And it's something that we talk about a lot in mental health, but it's something that I can't stress enough. When you get your blood pumping and your pulse racing, you also get your endorphins really rising and those really happy, nice hormones that make you feel really good. So exercise is another really important thing. Getting out of the house. Normally I would say get into nature as much as you can, but I know that's limited, but there still are some really lovely places around where we live that aren't necessarily parks, but that can really feed that part of our soul that just loves being close to nature. So get out in nature and access just the part of you that is your happy place. And that might also include, having a devotion or spending some time with God in a place that just feels really soothing and comforting. Find some really good verses that really speak to you and that really comfort you, and meditate on those verses. God's given us such a good resource in his word, and he longs to speak words of comfort to us in his word. And so that's just such a wonderful way to access and remind ourselves of the love of God in such uncertain times. We also want to make sure that we're connecting with friends and family wherever they are, connecting in really wonderful ways with our family. So if we remember those 5 basic things: eating well, exercising, getting enough sleep, connecting with family and friends and those that we love, and getting out to nature and connecting with God. Those are some simple things that we can do to maintain our mental wellness during this uncertain time. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Maria. There's some great tips there. And I'm sure that if we all got into the habit of trying to get those things in our day-to-day lives through this time, we'd really reap a ton of benefits. So thanks for sharing those with us. And thank you to tuning in to this episode of Summerleas Sanity. And we'll see you next time.